What's up and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. I'm here with my co-host Dave Martinson. Dave, we have a show full of talking about men today. We got the old man, the gun. We got First Man. We got Better Call Saul, a show that is pretty much mostly about men, except for Kim. And then the Romanoffs, which I guess that's a good mix. We're going to be starting off with Ella Mai. How you doing today, man?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Yeah, it's funny. We're also talking about Better Call Saul, which, like you said, with Kim, the prequel show to Breaking Bad, one of the titular difficult men shows.
Mhm.
So, an interesting theme by sheer coincidence.
I wanted to ask about someone who's, I guess, developing into a man. How you feel about your guy Sam Darnold? Got that W this weekend?
Oh, he's a developed man. I don't know what you're talking about here.
Full grown man, huh?
That full head of hair. Now, very pleased to see a good, sometimes good quarterback on the Jets. It's a pretty rare feeling, and I still don't know what to make of it because it's very foreign to me.
It's a good feeling. I'm glad that you have something to root for, especially before the Knicks come and just totally have a very bad season because Kristaps isn't playing. Yeah,
this is all good vibes. Knicks season, man. We tanking. We
tanking.
We developing players. Kevin Knox, Ntilikina, Porzingis. Sit the whole year, man. We good.
Frankie Nicotine. Can he be a starting point guard?
He's starting something. He was ranked 90th in pick and roll defense as a 19-year-old rookie. 90th percentile in the league. It's pretty good. So yeah, I think he'll be fine.
I think ideally you want him playing like that Marcus Smart role, right? Where he's coming off the bench, being a stopper.
Yeah, if his offense doesn't get much better, then sure.
Yeah,
but he already has that high floor, which is going to keep him in the league for a long time. So there's that.
Maybe you'll hear from Dave doing some nostalgia sports takes in the future. Why don't we jump into something I didn't listen to, but I wanted to hear your take on it. The Quavo, was it a surprise album? I wasn't aware of it.
Wasn't a surprise album. It was initially supposed to come out the third weekend of September. Then it got pushed back a little bit. But yeah, we knew Quavo was going to be the first to release a solo project sometime at the end of the summer. And sure enough, Quavo Huncho is here. And we already know that Takeoff's album's coming soon as well. And unfortunately it's kind of the vibe we've been going on with Migos. I mean, Culture One, amazing album. One of my I think it was in my top 5 albums for last year. So great for so many levels. Quavo, the first star of Migos, was really good on that album. But then ever since then, the Quality Control project from end of last year, then Culture 2, which we reviewed top of this year, and then Honcho Jack Honcho, his Travis Scott collab from the end of last year. All those were basically all misses, and Quavo, I think, was a big culprit with that, where he just seemed to just get lazier in his songwriting and his rapping. I mean, he had so many really hot features in 2016 leading into Bad and Bougie, leading into Culture One, when they really started to pick up and get really hot. And then, ever since then, it's been what's the talk? It's Takeoff is really good now, and Offset's awesome. And Quavo's just kind of disappointing us all the time and phoning in verses. And unfortunately, I think this album is a lot of that. I mean, he's a charismatic performer, and he can sound good on, contemporary trap beats. That's what he's doing, but it doesn't do a lot for me. I think most of the songs are pretty forgettable. I mean, he's got collabs with Drake, Travis, and 21 Savage. Great people to work with, hot in demand people, but those songs are exactly what you think they are. They're ultimately really forgettable. There's a song with Cardi B and Madonna. It's a weird Madonna sample. So
what song does it sample?
I actually don't even remember, but it's worth a listen. Because it's a weird pairing. He also has a song with Cudi, kind of an interesting pairing as well, which is all right. I think the best song, though, is really early in the album. It's called Honcho Dreams, which is a play off of Barbie Dreams from Nicki Minaj's Queen. And as you listen to Honcho Dreams, you will quickly realize that Quavo is fucking airing out Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
And, I think the song is really awesome, really good. I kind of question the motives for it. It really seems like kind of just dragging Nicki unnecessarily for this, now actual real beef that Nicki has with Cardi B, which is of course his sister-in-law, right?
Mhm.
So, wait, sister-in-law? Or is he?
Yeah.
No, him and also they're cousins, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say they're cousins. I don't know what that makes them. Family by marriage.
Yeah. So I think that song is cool, and it's actually really good. It's funny, like he interpolates In My Feelings on that. He switches his flow a few times. So I think that song is cool. Again, the motives behind it are suspect to me. Other than that, like it's a really forgettable project, and it's kind of a shame that Quavo is really squandering this because his profile is super high. He's gonna walk away just fine from this, obviously, but I just expected a lot more because his highs on Culture One and leading up into Culture One back in late 2016, I just I thought he couldn't stop, but he just kind of just started throwing shit in and hasn't changed in a year and a half. So disappointing for sure.
Yeah, as you're talking, it almost sounds like he didn't really have much to say on this.
No.
And the only times he really hit was when he had something to say, which just sounds like Honcho Dreams was the main one where he had any kind of I don't know, material pushing him anywhere. I guess when I heard he dropped an album, that was my first thought is I wonder what he actually wants to make an album about. But kind of like Culture 2, it sounds like he just wanted to put something out, get those numbers up, make that money, cash that check.
What is it? 19 tracks, hour plus. Like Quavo, you do not have that much material. Sorry, dog. Especially when you openly acknowledge that you don't put a lot of time into recording, which is fine. But we just need to get that quality control in order. Again, follow the namesake of your label for once.
Well, and I think it, with Migos too right now, since they still are a relatively newer group, at least that newer in terms of stardom, really being upper echelon, they're about that money right now. I think they'll worry about legacy in a couple of years. They just want to get projects out right now, probably. So I don't blame him for getting that money, but it's going to be tough if he keeps putting out bad project after bad project. So hopefully his next one will be better. Let's jump to Ella Mai though. Booed Up. I mean, I think everybody who has a brain or has ears that function in 2018 has probably heard this song. And I really like it. I think it's a great pop song. It's fun to listen to. It's infectious. What did you think of this debut album though?
Yeah. It's funny because Booed Up, I think, like most people, was my introduction to Ella Mai. He's about to turn 24, still pretty young. But once I went back and looked, she had 3 EPs come out since the beginning of 2016. And listening to that, and she signed to 10 Summers, DJ Mustard's imprint. And I listened to her most recent EP before this new record, Ready, which came out last February 2017. That's where Boot Up initially came out. It's actually quite an old song that really popped this year. It's kind of a cool story. Listen to that. And I listened to her ride Mustard beats, and I was like, wow, this is actually like there's something here. This is really cool. And I actually like that whole EP. I think the whole EP is really awesome. And then having Boot Up get huge, number 5 in the country, a lot of people's song of the summer. And then she follows it up pretty soon after with Trip, which went gold. The Jocks remix got notorious because people liked it so much that Mustard cease and desisted, had it taken down, and it was living on Pornhub for a while because it was the only place they could like keep the song up on and it still got taken down eventually. So that's ridiculous. And also Mustard a little overzealous with stopping a freestyle, stopping a remix. Like, come on. But getting to this album, I actually really liked it. I thought, I think we've reviewed 3 major contemporary R&B projects this year: Georgia, her, and now Ella Mai. And I'd probably put this right in the middle. I don't think it quite reaches the highs of Georgia Smith, which probably more, it achieves more. But I think in terms of contemporary R&B that is both of the moment, but also really high quality, like. I think Ella Mai's self-titled album is pretty awesome. He's kind of like a female Chris Brown.
Yeah, and she actually had Chris Brown on, as a feature on this, which I think is appropriate. I agree with you. I think I'd put her above her and right below Georgia. But I think my knock is actually DJ Mustard's producing on this, because I found a lot of the songs, if you weren't really paying attention, can definitely sound similar. And I think while Ella Mai dropped some quality, and there's definitely a couple songs like Shot Clock I really liked, and Cheap Shot. I think that whole like Cheap Shot, Shot Clock, everything featuring John Legend is probably the strongest three of the album for me. And I think like a song like Cheap Shot really is a nice mix up. And that's actually not a DJ Mustard produced song. But yeah, I think that would be my major knock, is that some of it does flow together and sounds almost too synonymous, that I'd like her to try to take a little bit more chances. But for a debut album, I thought very solid.
Yeah, I really like the song Sauce. I think that song's a banger.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It's really cool. And yeah, I mean to get more specific, I just think it's like solid R&B music that is both really listenable, but it's not super garish or like disposable in the way that contemporary Chris Brown sounds, you know?
Right.
Or like what's a female comp? I don't know, but it's just it's pretty thoughtful. Like I think she actually has some like sneaky, like cool wordplay about her songs. And I mean, yeah, it's what you expect. It's about heartbreak and romance and, you know, life and growing up and all that, the usual suspects, right? But I think it's done pretty tastefully and done in a cool way. And again, this at the end of the day, the songs are fun to listen to. The songs are fun to go back to, and I think that is a harbinger of continued success. You know, she's already proven she's not a one-hit wonder. So,
right.
You know.
Yeah, I think we're going to be talking about her for a while. I also would expect to see her featured on a lot bigger projects moving forward. I mean, I gotta imagine John Legend's going to be dropping an album at some point in the future. I think you can almost count on her to be there, but I'd like to see her team up with someone like Sampha, you know, moving forward, and see what they can make together. I think that they would be a great pairing. Just their vocals and their styles, I feel like would match up. So we'll see. But definitely someone to keep on the radar moving forward. And a show that I mentioned that at the end of last week was off my radar, but kind of came on pretty quickly. The Romanoffs, dropping on Amazon Prime this past weekend. Only 2 episodes, and it's going to be dropping every Friday. Matthew Weiner's first show since Mad Men, which we never really talked about. And did you watch Mad Men?
I've seen some of it. I haven't finished. I want to finish it, obviously. Didn't Mad Men finish like right when we started the podcast? Like,
I think it was like right around that time it was finishing up, which that's 3 years ago now?
2016.
Wow. It's going to be going on 3 years of the pod. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, you know, I watched like the first like 5 or 6 seasons, and I haven't gotten around to finishing it yet. It was a show that I know is really well done. I don't think I ever got into as much as some other people did, but you know, you read like, if you trust Alan Sepinwall's analysis, he rides for Mad Men is probably his favorite show of the last, you know, of definitely peak TV era. And I think anyone that enjoys like stylistic TV done in a really tasteful and creative way, Mad Men really fits that bill. And the Romanoffs, I think it took me by surprise. I wasn't aware it was an anthology series. So going in, I was kind of like, oh, we're going to get Aaron Eckhart for this whole show? That's fucking incredible. Like, give me all the Aaron Eckhart. And then the second episode, the Royal We comes on, and there's fucking Corey Stoll, like just getting to ball out for an episode. I really love that this is an anthology series, because I think not only do people want to work with Weiner, but he gets to then use them in these really creative ways. I guess before I go too far into it, what was just your initial reaction to the first 2 episodes? What stood out to you? What did you like or dislike?
And just to clarify, Mad Men actually finished in May 2015, so it was already done
right before. Okay.
It's funny, the first trailers for Romanoffs, because we didn't really have a date until like I think TCAs in the summer, like, oh yeah, it's dropping October 12th or whatever, get ready. And like they put out that teaser trailer, and the teaser trailer is just like every actor's name. So like, episode 3, which isn't out yet, is supposed to be quite good and has Isabelle Huppert and Christina Hendricks from Mad Men. So and like John Slattery from Mad Men will be back. There's just, the cast list is ridiculous, and it makes sense that it's an anthology series. There's no way you would have this many top billed, expensive actors, TV actors, all on one normal show.
Right.
And it also is important to note that this show was greenlit by Amazon before Matthew Weiner had that sexual harassment allegation from one of his writers on Mad Men. In fact, it was greenlit so early that initially was a co-production with the Weinstein Company, Amazon Weinstein. So obviously they threw that association out the way, but there's the cloud over Matthew Weiner, and it's been verified that he's this like really detail-oriented auteur that obviously he's cut his teeth writing for Sopranos, but then had his opus in Mad Men, but was really controlling on set. And it seems that he also was a bit of a bully on set, and if he with multiple allegations, it's unfortunate. So that's definitely a cloud hanging over the promotion of the show.
Sure.
But the show and all the actors signed up before that was out, so I wouldn't judge anyone for working with him or for putting out the show, because again, it was kind of predated what happened with Me Too. That being said, I think the first 2 episodes are, which is again all we've seen. I think the critics have only seen the first 3, and I think the show is really, really pleasurable to watch because the budget is fucking super high. I mean, the first episode, they shot this in, I think, 8 different countries. First episode obviously takes place in Paris, fucking ass apartment, lots of location shooting just on the streets, on the river, etc. And it's great to watch in that regard. But I think his, a lot of the criticism, if you read about this, everyone's paying attention to the show, of course, is that, is this, because it's, quote, the Mad Men follow-up, right? So it's being kind of, held on a high
to those standards.
Right. And it's definitely not like as ambitious as Mad Men. Again, I think if we see the whole series, maybe we'll get a greater sense of what the theme really is. I'm not expecting much of any continuity, quote unquote, of an actor appearing in multiple episodes or anything like that. But I do think it's, for what it is, Mad Men notwithstanding, it's enjoyable, well written, and the characters feel pretty well realized through 2 episodes. I think part of that is just these are big time actors, really chewing on the script. But I think episode 1 kind of had a maybe a bit of a hokey ending, but if you kind of just accept that, I think it was quite enjoyable. And episode 2 I liked as well. Big Corey Stoll guy, so I don't have much bad to say about it thus far.
When I was watching it, it's an easy comparison, and that's going to be ironic in a second, because it reminded me a lot of Easy on Netflix, where you're getting these big name actors in this anthology series, and you're kind of just letting them do their thing with the scripts, and knowing that they basically have 90 minutes of television that they're making and telling this small story. But I think what I find most appealing about this is that you have these big name actors and you allow them to just kind of be these people, but then like jump right back out. Like we're not going to be following John Hamm for 6 more seasons. We're not going to be, you mentioned John Slattery, Christina Hendricks coming back, and we're not going to be diving into those characters. And I almost kind of like that right now. Like I was talking a little bit about that fatigue of dramas with the fantasy TV boom that's impending, and having something where you're kind of just turning it on and that you're sitting with these characters for 90 minutes, I find very appealing right now. Something that I'm like, okay, I'm seeing this character, they're gone. Aaron Eckhart, it was great watching you. I agree, it was kind of a corny ending, but it's like, all right, I don't need to care about this character beyond this point. Corey Stoll being a fucking psychopath in the second episode because he fell in love with Janet Montgomery's character there, which she was hypnotic, dude. Like in that episode, unbelievable. She was a standout for me. It's just fun, and I also think it's a good change up for Weiner. I mean, like you said, he's had some controversy, and it's been 3 years since he was, has released a show. But I think for him to come back and have, these short stories kind of be where he's directing right now instead of going for something longer, lets him get back into the spotlight. Hopefully he can resolve whatever issues are going on behind the camera and off screen and get back in good graces before he kind of comes back with, I think, a true follow up to Mad Men, whatever that will be.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, if you look at the quartet of the golden age of television, right? Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Gilligan, Gold that's already out. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
David Simon followed up The Wire with Treme, Show Me a Hero, then The Deuce, which we'll talk about that full season in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the follow-up to Mad Men's here. And then Sopranos, David Chase has kind of stepped away from
television.
Working on television per se. And then even David Milch has done other projects since Deadwood, which is kind of like the fifth pillar, right?
We're getting that movie though.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see Weiner come back. Obviously, again, it's tough to he really is like the difficult like auteur, with the bad. Obviously, sexual harassment not acceptable, no matter how good of an artist you are. No one's condoning that, but also he's really controlling on the set and just. It's difficult, and I think, like I said before, I just think because this was greenlit before Amazon knew, before the actors knew, just take the art for what it is, I mean, I don't, again, like Weiner's kind of been off the beaten path since Mad Men, and it's not like, obviously David Simon put out several shows since The Wire, but he's a present figure. Weiner hasn't really been present. He's been really around the world of television since Mad Men. So it's an interesting story that's definitely not over. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy watching the show every Thursday, every Friday, because it's I think the feature length aspect of it's really cool, and also that he got Amazon to release week to week. I'm pretty sure this is the first streaming network, internet streaming service to release a show week to week ever. That wasn't like owned by networks. So this is actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and I hope that works out. Because we review shows that are week to week and shows that are streaming, and I think the ones that I enjoy the most are the Game of Thrones is the show, Better Call Saul is the ones that are week to week, and it allows me to kind of think about it and digest it, read the the episode recaps that I want to read to try to understand the show better, and hopefully I know on streaming not every show is going to be like that, but to have even a couple, especially if they're premiere shows that are in that way driving people to these streaming sites but dropping their art in a more traditional way, I'd be really excited for. So that's enough of Romanoffs, and we'll be talking about it more as the season wraps up. Better Call Saul season 4 just wrapped up a week ago, so we're a little late to this since we record on Mondays and the season finale was last Monday. Man, I can't believe they've gotten 4 seasons out of this show. Because when it started, I was like, that's probably going to be like maybe 2-3 seasons. Like end of the first season, he'll be Saul. And then the second season will probably be him being Saul leading up to Breaking Bad. And then maybe some other stuff like post Breaking Bad, because I know that they had the Cinnabon thing already. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad that they have, because Jimmy McGill's demise into Saul Goodman and Mike's demise into being like a true like henchman villain is fucking awesome to watch. And Vince Gilligan is just such a master of telling these stories. And even though I think my biggest critique of the show when we first started watching it was that it was slow and it was just not really it didn't have enough there to keep me interested. At this point, I think they could have put out like 5 more episodes this season. I would have been happy, like just to kind of watch Jimmy and watch like his antics with Kim and their relationship. Just all is so fascinating. What did you like most about this season?
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it with that. I mean, once you understand why Better Call Saul is so great and what you should be looking for when you're watching the show, you really start to appreciate it. Because it's a lot different than Breaking Bad. Obviously, I'm not treading any new ground by saying this through 4 seasons in, but there's a lot more action in Breaking Bad, right? You're following, I mean, Breaking Bad used audiences, knowledge of protagonists against them by making Walter White descend into unlikability and villainy, right? Mm-hmm. This is different because you already know who Jimmy will become at the start of episode 1.
Right.
So and how it's already telling the story to you, but this is a show about like the process, right? And once you understand what Peter Gould and Gilligan do, and I think from what I gathered, Gilligan wasn't as involved this season. You know, obviously he's co-creator of the universe and of Breaking Bad and whatnot. But Peter Gould was a showrunner this season. I think Gilligan, he directed the second to last episode, but other than that, he was less involved than normal.
Which I think was the best episode of the season too. But go ahead.
And I wasn't able to gather quite why. I know Steppenwolf mentioned it in passing a few times, so whatever. Not like there's any fall from grace or anything there. But this show, you know, like we're almost watching like two different shows, right? Like we have the Mike story, which is loosely with obviously Gus Fring is there, which is really just fan service, I guess, and which is loosely connected to Nacho's story, one of the breakout characters from Saul that wasn't in Breaking Bad. And then we have the Jimmy story, right, with Kim and Howard and until this season Chuck, and seeing these two shows really kind of function separate from each other, right? Like Jimmy talked to Mike once this season in that diner.
Yeah,
I think was that it. Maybe there's one or two other moments, but you know they're really separate. But again, it's really all about the process. Like I mean, one of the fucking best episodes where I think just really kind of captures the show in a nutshell happened was I think was the finale or the second to last episode where Mike's being chased by Lalo Salamanca, and he goes into that
parking lot
and opens the glove box. You see the gun. He doesn't grab the gun. He grabs chewing gum. Yeah. And then watch him for 2 minutes prepare chewing gum until he gets his escape in the ticket machine. Like that is such Better Call Saul and Gilligan in a nutshell right there. You know, like a Spielberg-esque fake out with a sight gag, and then you know, like they take their time with everything. It's so great.
Yeah. Just to like even like drive your point home, even the ending of that episode for Mike, where he is out in the desert and he's basically explaining to Werner, like, you messed things up. Like, I have to do this now. You didn't really leave us a choice. And the shot of Werner walking out into the desert where it's basically all dark at the top of that blue across the desert. You can just see Mike walk up behind him. I thought that was like the most perfect like way to like drive that home. And also, I mean, that is like classic Breaking Bad to a shot like that, using the desert, using the scenery to really have this affecting death. I just thought it was wonderful. And Mike's arc I found to be by far the most compelling arc of the season. You know, Jimmy, I think, especially after the first episode when Howard is grieving and he basically is like, well, that sounds like it actually is your fault. So like deal with that. You kind of saw like
Howard.
Yeah. Basically you saw he was already Saul Goodman at that point. And like there were scraps of Jimmy McGill left, but he was already transforming. But Mike, I mean, his relationship with Werner and how that really impacted him, other than I think in the first season when he cries over his son, you don't really see Mike open up emotionally in the way that he did this season. And I think it's great that they gave a character like that who in a lot of other shows would have just been like the most interesting character on the show, but never really gets fully developed. And you're just like, oh, he's just like a hardened cop who had a lot of experiences with criminals after he retired. You get to see like who he is as a person and how he developed into the person he was on Breaking Bad. And that's really, I think, just masterful TV making. Which arc did you like more? Did you like Saul or Mike?
See, throughout the season, I probably would have said Jimmy, Saul, but seeing what happened with Mike, you know, maybe what changes my mind is because this is the first time we've really seen like that, like chink in Mike's armor.
Yeah.
You know, starting to see how he's going to go down that path and just kind of become Gus's fixer, right?
Yep.
And you know, Jonathan Banks, obviously we know he's really great, but you know, with his face, with his eyes, really communicated a lot for Mike, you know, in that episode. You know, I think there's other things the show does. Like there was that split screen montage with Kim and Jimmy, like getting up in the morning and like, the brushing the routines and stuff. Really, really effective touch there. Joe used a time jump, I think, really smartly. Basically, a whole year passes.
Yep.
So I think overall, I like just about everything. I wanted more from Nacho. I think he was probably the most underserved storyline of the season. Kind of takes a beating, gets fucked by Gus, and then there's another Salamanca around. You're in the same situation you were before. Like that's basically all Nacho. We don't really get much from him as a character. He's just kind of there servicing plot. Less Howard by design. Not as mad about that, but I think Patrick Fabian is really good when he's given a chance, especially because Howard was much more rattled and uncomfortable this season.
Yeah. I think if one performance really stands out, I mean, Mike obviously and Jonathan Banks, but Rhea Seehorn is just, how has she not had an Emmy nod at this point? Like,
really deserves it.
It's crazy. And the scenes that I think stand out to me most are usually when Odenkirk gets a chance to kind of shine, and you see Kim kind of playing off him, and it's a much more subtle performance than Odenkirk is Saul. But I think like the perfect example is the final scene when Jimmy is reading to the appeal board the letter from his brother. And then he kind of switches it up and gives that what you think is a heartfelt speech, and he comes out and he's like, "Oh, they're all such suckers. I played them all." And then you can kind of just see Kim realizing that she was a sucker too at that moment, and like seeing Jimmy kind of slip just so seamlessly into Saul. It was I don't know. What?
I said Saul good, man.
Yeah, it was just like great acting, and I don't know. I think if you are willing to give a show a chance that's really about people and not so much about the action, like you got to watch Better Call Saul. Like if you appreciate storytelling in that way, it's probably the best show on TV right now for that style.
Yeah, and also if you're a big Breaking Bad head, like a lot of people are, I mean, there is just pure fan servicey stuff that like Gale goes up. Yeah. Obviously, Gale, one of the most tragic characters on Breaking Bad, and kind of uncomfortable to see him back in his old happy, jolly self. Also, the reason Werner and all the Germans are there making fucking Gus's super lab, that's a key setting through a lot of Breaking Bad, and not that they finish it, but just stuff like that, which, again, it's not really the point. It's not why the show is good, but it also does, obviously, it's very clear that they do have a connected plan for how this relates to Breaking Bad. It's just really cool to see. Because, again, going into this, we didn't expect this show to go on this long without Jimmy becoming Saul. And now, again, we'll see. Nacho and Kim are the two, quote, loose ends. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the show's a joy for sure.
How many more seasons do you think? 1, 2?
I'll probably go 2.
Yeah, I think we get one more Saul season, and then we get a Cinnabon, whatever his name is.
Like a present timeline, a post Breaking Bad show. Yeah, black and white.
I'm really interested to see that. What's going on there? But we'll definitely be talking about it. Leave your thoughts on Better Call Saul either in the comments below this video, or hit us up on Twitter at Nowstalgia Pod. Give us all your thoughts. Old Man and the Gun. David Lowery letting Robert Redford just be fucking charming as hell in his last performance. Just to kind of give you a bit of a background, and I don't want to spoil too much about First Man, but I saw First Man on Saturday and then this Sunday morning, and First Man was excellent and it's a well done movie, but I didn't love it. I loved The Old Man and the Gun. It's probably in my top 10 movies this year at this point. And I think what I liked most about it was it was a story that it was a lot of fun to watch. Redford gives just a fucking awesome performance, and I'm hoping he gets a last nomination in this role for Best Actor. But I thought the story stayed so true to who the characters were when it seemed to be kind of twisting and turning and being about one thing, and the way it ended just kind of pulls it right back. And I was like, you know what, even though that wasn't the ending I was hoping for, because I was rooting for them as a couple, I ended up really feeling like it was a much more realistic and true ending, and it told a great story, I think, about the human condition that you're not going to see in theaters done better this year. So that's my gushing review. Give me yours.
Yeah, no, I think it's a for one, it's 90 minutes long. A drama that's 90 minutes and does not feel short, does not overstay its welcome either. It moves at a brisk pace, but it's done well. And again, it all hinges on what Redford brings to the table, because he's in almost every scene that doesn't have Casey Affleck in it, basically. And he's really charming. He's he really chews on his lines in this, and I think he really relishes portraying Forrest Tucker. And the story about the film, he's the one who optioned the story and basically got the movie made. So he was obviously interested in the character.
It's got that clout.
And it's funny because like the script cites the New Yorker article from 2003 that David Gran wrote called "The Old Man and the Gun." Like that's what's cited. And I read the thing. It took me like 25 minutes to read the whole story, but that's like David Gran from the New Yorker basically got the story by meeting Forrest Tucker and talking to all the people and stuff. And it's like it's just a long ass New Yorker essay. That's really what the story came from, which is really cool. And again, I recommend reading that, because reading all the real stories, a lot of which is more or less in the movie in some fashion, is cool. But yeah, I mean, David Lowery, who I haven't seen any of his other films. I know he got a lot of acclaim for Ghost Story last year. He's got a few other films. He wrote this, he directed this. He also location scouted everything. Like, and I remember he mentioned that they wanted to get like cool locations for all the banks. And like so I remember one of the first banks they go to, I'm like, that does not look like a bank. That's a cool ass building. So,
yeah.
Right. And just all those like little touches, and the fashion, the vehicles, it definitely feels like a period film. And again, I mean, it's not like showy, and that's about the robbing, right? It's not really a crime movie. Especially from a bank robbers movie, it's not really what it is. Again, like you said, it's about the human condition. It's about Forrest Tucker finally coming to grips with himself in a certain extent. You can really, I guess, take it in a lot of ways, but seeing that unfold, I thought was cool. And even Casey Affleck's character, who was played the cop, basically hunting him down. Similar themes, in terms of me being really whimsical and whatnot. So yeah, I think the movie is really, really worth a watch. It's funny because it's not making a lot of money. It's not a wide release or anything like that, but going to slip under the radar, minus the Redford buzz. But I think this is a movie that a lot of people would like if they saw it. They probably just don't even know about it.
It's interesting thinking about how the story is told with Affleck's character and Redford's character, both kind of finding out like who they are and what they really like about life and what they do, and what it means for them to kind of be them. And there's a lot of symmetry in it, because I think you could kind of whittle it down to the idea of like, well, some people are criminals and some people are cops, but I think there's a little bit more to the idea of like, some people really like the chase and some people like to be chased, and some people find meaning in doing things that they have to run from, and some people like to be the people that kind of bring things home and find purpose in justice. And it's I don't know, I keep coming back to Elizabeth Moss's character actually in it, which, first of all, shout out Elizabeth Moss just being like, I don't know, a bit character, kind of a throwaway, crazy. But when she tells the story about her mom and how Forrest would always kind of come back and say, no, I've changed, and he would always go back and rob another bank. And then at the end, when they say that he stayed in jail, he didn't break out of that jail, and then he goes out to get some milk or go out and run an errand, and he robs 4 banks in one day before he gets caught. It's like, it's so perfect, because who he was then is just who he is now. And like you said, it's kind of him just coming to realize it. But the way that they show that with that interview and then how it ends, I thought was just so beautiful. And how the gamesmanship of it, how he really just enjoyed the chase. Like he kind of fucks with Affleck when he sees him in the diner, and they're having that conversation and the way he approaches them, and it's just like, oh, I'm sure you'll find him. And he's like, it makes you look like you know what you're doing. Then Affleck's like, Forrest, I do know what I'm doing. It's like, it was just like so well done between them. I don't know. And Affleck's face in that was so perfect. How it was kind of like that shock, but also like so enjoying that scene between them. It was a fun soundtrack. I know that that's kind of weird, like maybe something that doesn't stand out that much, but I thought the way that they use jazz, but also like older folk songs, and a lot of, I think there's some Johnny Cash in there and stuff. It's just really it kind of brings the whole vibe of it home, like you said. So definitely, I would highly recommend it. One of my favorite movies of the year so far. Why don't we get to a movie that I think I saw you describe it as a major achievement in filmmaking? Is that right?
Yeah, I said it was Saving Private Ryan for space movies.
Yes. That's a big take, Dave.
Yeah.
Tell me about First Man. You know, to call it the Saving Private Ryan of space movies is high praise. What makes you feel that way about this movie?
Yeah. Well, I think the movie is so visceral and so physical in its portrayal of space travel, and also getting inside the heads of people doing said space travel, astronauts, that it reminds me a lot of what everyone felt in '99 when Private Ryan came out. Like, wow, this is like, that's how you depict war on screen, right? I feel like it's the same way you depict space travel on scene. I think it's the best non-science fiction space movie. You know, obviously that's not as big a list as sci-fi movies, but I mean, going up against like Apollo 13 and The Right Stuff and Gravity, I think this is the best one of the bunch. And I think just the way it tells the story is freaking incredible. And like, then on the other hand, there's all these fucking money shots of said space travel without the characters, which is like aesthetically like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, there were so many moments when I was like, fuck. And like, I'm a big space person. Obviously, everyone has loved Star Wars, so it's like, yeah, I'm coming in hoping to like it, but I was pretty blown away.
Yeah, what this movie does well, and obviously this is Damien Chazelle's, was this his fourth movie?
Fourth movie. Really, no one saw his 2009 movie, which was an indie release.
Yeah, but I mean, the director of Whiplash, La La Land, he's telling the story of Neil Armstrong and his like own personal journey, and how it kind of ties in with the first lunar landing, and just his whole experience with this. I think it tells space travel in a much grittier way, which I think I appreciate, and it kind of brings the realities of what these people were actually going through and like the danger of this to the surface, which I think kind of gets lost a lot of times in the shuffle. You know, you think about like Kennedy's whole speech about like being the first person to go to the moon, like the importance of the space race, and then it's kind of like, oh, we went to the moon. Like, people don't talk about that really, like in between part. Right. But I think what I admire most about this movie is how I'm left with different feelings at different parts that he definitely, like, it's almost kind of like A Star is Born, how we kind of called him manipulative. And I wouldn't say that this movie is as manipulative as that. You don't have a dog eating a steak before a guy kills himself to just like elicit all these like feelings. But you do have these like smaller moments that really evoke emotion really well. Like, whether it's when Neil is like trying to leave the party and Jan is like, well, I got, or not the party, the funeral. And he's like, I gotta go. And he just kind of like leaves. And then his friend goes to talk to him, and he's like, you think I'd be sitting in my backyard if I want to talk to somebody right now? Like, go away, basically. Like, it's just a really well done scene that I'm kind of left just feeling like how heavy Neil is in that moment. Or even when he's on the moon and he like finally pulls out Karen's bracelet, and he's just kind of looking at it, and you're just like, wow. Like, it drives home all these emotional moments in such subtle ways. I think it's really, really impressive. And Chazelle is just like a master with not only framing and using the camera, but also getting his actors to give these subtle performances, but that still evoke such a reaction. It's really impressive. However, and this is where the however comes in, I think where I was left with this movie was it's a good movie I'm probably never going to seek out again. And I think my main gripe with it is Neil Armstrong felt like such an inaccessible character in a lot of ways. You know, he's grieving basically from like the third minute of the movie on. You know, Karen passes away relatively early, and from then on, other than that one moment where him and Jan are dancing in their living room, you don't really see that many fun, intimate moments with them. And for me, that makes it really hard to kind of buy into him as a character, because I don't really buy a lot of. I think it's hard for me to kind of relate to like his emotional state throughout. He's just very sad, very within himself. Mm-hmm. And I think Gosling does that well. And it's a testament to his acting, how well he does do with it, but it just makes it a movie that I don't know if I'd want to rewatch per se.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's not pulpy, you know. Like, it's the opposite of that. It's not crowd pleasing.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's non-traditional. I think that probably contributed to the tepid box office. You know, it's because again, reviews are overwhelmingly positive, but even those reviews are saying that this is not Apollo 13.
Right.
You know, that's kind of what you're looking for. We're not going to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think more people from this point forward will still rewatch Apollo 13 more than they'll watch this. Sure.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, fuck, the very first scene, he's in that X-15 in like the lower atmosphere, right? And it's so claustrophobic and so loud.
Yeah.
It's tense and jittery. And then like he starts bouncing off the atmosphere. Like, I had no idea that Neil Armstrong almost died like 3 other times before he went to the moon. You know? It's like when he's testing the lunar module thing and he has to pull the chute and like he fucks up his face. Like, I did not realize there were all these close calls. You know, I didn't do enough reading on the Gemini program and stuff leading up to Apollo missions. But I think what really blew my mind was this is a story that I know how it ends. It's a nonfiction tale, right? But the movie built up and held tension multiple times so well.
Yeah, it's kind of like Better Call Saul in that way.
Sure, yeah, and I just found it really impressive. And I mean, the cast mentioned Gosling. I think Gosling, again, it's an inaccessible performance. It's tough to relate to because he's, you know, a man of few words in the film, and again, it's a good performance. I think Claire Foy is almost like the audience avatar as his wife. You know, he's much more emotional and kind of saying the things that you would expect someone to be saying in the way he was acting, right? And I mean, the rest of the cast is stacked. You have so much talent that's barely used, right? Jason Clarke, the Heater for like 2 years now. He has a lot of good work as Ed. Kyle Chandler has some moments. Kieran Hines is there, you know. Fucking
Corey Stoll.
Yep, Corey Stoll is a fucking douche as Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah, which, I mean, Buzz Aldrin, man, like you can't be watching this movie feeling very good about how he's portrayed.
Yeah, it's I didn't really know much about the temperament of either man going in, so that was interesting to hear. It's funny because obviously with the bogus flag controversy that came up before this movie, which probably contributed to the box office at least a little bit, right?
Such a ridiculous narrative, but
I know. You know, like Richard Brody at the New Yorker, for example, like there are people, and there's a Daily Beast review too, like, oh, this movie is actually like super pro America, super like this is a right winger's movie. It's like, again, like I don't think the movie's political really at all. That was clearly Chazelle's intent. Like he gave his reasoning for not showing the actual planting of the flag. He just shows a shot of the flag already planted, right?
Right.
And again, he was not interested in that. Like he could have told the story playing into the space race more. But this is a movie based off of a biography about Neil, being in Neil's head. Like you said, sometimes it isn't very fun, you know, once you understand what it was like to be on Neil Armstrong. But I found the film fucking really effective, and I was a huge fan. So it's I have it in my top 5 right now for the year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what does your top 5 look like? Because I was wondering if this was going to be top 5, top 10, top 15. I knew it was up there.
Yeah, I think I have First Reform, Sorry to Bother You, and then First Man right now.
Damn.
Black Klansman and Annihilation, Isle of Dogs, etc.
I'm excited because I think our year-end list, as we're inching closer, it's middle of October, dude. Like,
I've already seen more movies in 2018 than I saw from 2017.
Shout out Movie Pass before he passed away.
I saw First Man in IMAX 2D.
Ooh.
List, and not every scene was shot in IMAX, but all the space scenes were in IMAX, and it was great because that's a fucking like 3-story screen, great sound. So that probably helped my viewing experience.
Yeah.
Cool touch about this movie was, obviously, they didn't go to the moon to film this. They weren't on location, right? Ever like actors would see
would see like
Earth. It wasn't a green screen. They actually had LED screens.
Yeah.
It was much more immersive for the actors. I think that's a really seemingly simple idea, but probably goes a long way in helping the actors. So that was a cool thing to learn.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, Chazelle, just at this point, if he's making a movie and you care about the art of movie making, I think you have to watch. He's the youngest Best Director winner for La La Land, and in thinking about all the movies from the last 5 years, Whiplash might be my favorite movie. And I'm thinking about it, so many of the scenes in it just run through my mind when I think about what it means to watch a movie, practicing, putting the
tempo.
What?
Is it not quite my tempo?
But I mean, Chazelle's just a masterclass, and even when I think the movie isn't necessarily rewatchable, it's still there to appreciate. So I'm interested to see what he does next. I saw online an interesting through line through his movies seems to be sacrifice. That in order to really achieve greatness in these things, you need to sacrifice pretty much everything to achieve it. So I'm wondering what the next story will be related to that. But yeah, First Man, I think we both really liked it. You definitely liked it more than me, but overall, I think you have to see it if you care about movies at all.
Yeah, again, hammer it home. Damien Chazelle is 33 years old. This is his third major feature film release. Whiplash, 5 Oscar nominations. La La Land, 14. I think First Man will get a bunch of technical nominations, and he'll probably get nominated for director. It probably will get Best Picture. Then Gosling or Foy, probably. But I don't expect it to get any wins because, again, it probably won't just pick up enough steam.
Yeah.
With the tepid box office, but it's going to be deserving of all those nominations regardless. And this is actually the first movie that he didn't write, just directed. It was written by Josh Singer, who co-wrote The Post and Spotlight. So if you're going to pass it off to someone, sounds like that's a great guy to pick. But yeah, I think it's funny. He's attached to some TV shows. I think one of the Apple shows. Again, I a million shows, but the idea of him doing TV right now just seems so wasteful. It's you have him and Chazelle and Ryan Coogler are 2 great young American filmmakers. Make films.
Yeah. Well, Coogler just signed up for Black Panther too, which is exciting. I'm glad that.
I missed that.
So I'm excited to see what he'll do with the second installment of that. Yeah, man. And also, just Chazelle is, so just thinking about him as a director, I feel like he tells stories that I would never expect. And, we were texting a little bit about how this is his most, conventional film he's made, but still so many scenes were shot so unconventionally. Like when he's in the test thing in the beginning, and it's spinning him around and just watching Gosling be thrown around in this, or even when he's on that landing craft, that simulator, and he almost crashes, following him and then being thrown up quickly and then shot back down. It's so visceral. He does things other directors just can't do. So or don't do it to this point yet. So definitely excited to see where he goes. And we're going to be talking about him for the next 50 years of our lives, probably.
Yep.
33. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this episode. But what do we got for next week, Dave?
Halloween comes out. I'm not gonna see. I don't like horror movies. I don't know if you're interested in that. But
are you listening to that podcast from The Ringer?
Halloween Unmasked.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cool narrative podcasts are awesome, but I have no interest because I don't like horror movies or Halloween. But cool idea.
Definitely.
So that'll be the box office winner, obviously. Beautiful Boy was in 4 theaters last week, and that's the Timothée Chalamet, Steve Carell, and that had a really big theater, I think like 55,000 per theater. So a really strong start for Amazon, which is good for them. They've had some valleys recently in their actual releases, so that should be out by us. I'm not sure how quick they're going wide with that, but if that's here, definitely see that, because Chalamet, much like Coogler and Chazelle are great directors of the future, Chalamet is probably going to be the actor of his generation.
Yeah, so, him and Hedges are like neck and neck.
Yeah. Oh, and Hedges' Boy Erase coming soon, so first actual lead role, funny enough. So we have that, and then on the music front, nothing like super blockbuster, but Yachty's releasing another album. Cloud Nothing's releasing another album.
Yeah.
Mo is releasing an album, so we'll see.
Mo? What?
Yeah, it's funny. Like Mo, right? Like Major League, etc. No studio album yet or something. And she's like 28.
Crazy.
So we'll see how that turns out. But and then television, next episode of the Romanoffs. I don't think anything else new is coming. No, well, Daredevil comes out Friday. So
yeah. What do you think about the Iron Fist being canceled?
Yeah, I haven't watched either season of Iron Fist. I know people like season 2 more, and apparently there's a cool cliffhanger at the end, but it critically was not well received and was probably underwatched relative to their other shows. So, it's like when you start out bad and then you get to be less bad, it's not necessarily justified continuing. So
it was just interesting because I think it was the first one of the Marvel shows Amazon's canceled, so it's something to kind of keep our eye on, especially as we're talking about all these like fantasy IP properties, and I know they were trying to build that world with what was their version of the Avengers?
Defenders.
Yeah, the Defenders. So definitely, I think a step back for them, but I have no doubt Marvel will figure it out. So.
Yeah, remember they also added the Punisher show, which was not originally part of the plan. So there's still plenty of those shows going.
But if you enjoy the pod, give us a subscribe, and on YouTube, go to soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod to find any way that you want to listen to the show. Go to iTunes, give us a rating and review, and hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you think of the show at NowstalgiaPod. Dave's at Martin Swagger. I'm at Sheeting World Peace. If you want that Boston Red Sox playoff emotional tweeting content that I've been pumping out recently, go follow. And then my Celtics start up tomorrow, and or Tuesday if you're listening to this, which I'm excited for. The worst team in Boston right now is I guess maybe the Patriots, which is crazy to say, a team that came out of the Super Bowl. So
I
didn't hear what you said, but I'm glad to be a Boston sports fan. Anyways, we love you. We'll see you next week. Peace out.